Good morning. Today we're looking at Genesis chapter 31. And in this chapter we see Jacob flee the land of Laban to return to the land of his father, Abraham. Now in this process, he deceives Laban and kind of runs off. And Laban, being upset by this process, that Jacob leaves without telling him and taking his family and taking his idols with him, which he sees as his gods, right? Remember, even though there's revelation from God to Jacob, and we'll even see God speak to Laban in this scene, not to harm Jacob, people still turn towards idols. And this is, I think, a point to take note in, and that sometimes people become syncretistic, and even we ourselves, after having revelation, if you will, from the Word of God and knowing Christianity, we still blend and mesh other cultures and aspects and thinkings and ways in with our Christianity. It's all around us. There's words and terms that aren't even biblical words and terms, and yet we see that right with us as though it's a scriptural notion. So in a certain sense, right, we don't have idols. That's a big one. But we do kind of syncretize our own thinking and ways into the process and into our faith. And really what we're called to do is draw things, all things back to the Word of God. But secondly, I think it's an important thing that for us to grasp here is Jacob leaves without telling Laban because he feels Laban is going to not let him go. Because Laban had kind of been a deceitful guy, right? Making him work 7 years and then making him work another 7 years and switching wives on him. But Laban says to him, why didn't you tell me? I would have sent you off with a ceremony. I would have sent you off with, tambourines and had a party, and you didn't even let me kiss my daughters and grandchildren goodbye. And we see really the heart of humanity there, right? That we want good for our family, and we want good for our children. And sometimes we doubt that in people, in our in-laws, let's say, or just in our family in general. And so he feels he's going to take his daughters and wives from him. But I think genuinely Laban's saying, hey, how could I do that, right? And so rather than trust God, Jacob kind of runs away and causes a scene. It's unnecessary, right? It's unnecessary to be truthful. We've seen much deception on both sides here. Be truthful, right? When we're truthful, and if he would have shared with Laban, I want to go back to the land of my fathers. I pray you allow me to take my family and give him a gift goodbye. I think things would have been all right. And in our own lives, we often feel we have to not share the full truth. We have to lie, or we have to just do it without saying it, and it causes problems later. Don't do that. Be truthful. And get the blessing of your friends or family, whoever it may be, in what you're doing, because if what you're doing is right, even if they don't see it exactly the same way, if you're firm in the way the Lord is leading and directing you, they will often give you their blessing. And so this is, I think, a lesson for us to take with us. Truth, not beguiling, and not acting in half-truths, because it could have turned out bad. We see a scene, fortunately the Lord told Laban not to harm Jacob, but in a certain sense he took away this celebration that could have been had as Jacob went on his way. So let us be people of truth. Let us seek to live peaceably, as the New Testament says, with all men, and let our lives just reflect the truthfulness that comes from Christ.